As an entrepreneur or water treatment professional, have you ever wondered when you can really tell if your water purifier supplier is truly high quality or not? What are the things you should pay attention to? Why do I want to talk about this topic today? I want to talk about this topic because it's one of the issues I want to bring to your attention, a topic that's widely discussed in the industry, namely the China issue, the Asia issue. Before we continue with the video, I invite you to click the subscribe button below so you can subscribe to the Onnwater channel, and also click the bell button so you'll get notifications when new videos come out. As I was saying, today I want to talk a bit about the topic of China because it's an issue that's really coming to the forefront. In the water treatment sector, surely you've also noticed that there are more and more good copies or bad copies of water purifiers coming out from Asia. Now, it's not really a problem with Asia itself. The fact is that the water treatment sector is experiencing tremendous growth. And so, quite obviously, it's incredibly attractive even for major international corporations that are established and based throughout the East. And obviously, it is important to note that one of their primary main markets is the Western market, which includes the entirety of the European continent, and so on and so forth. But why is that? Because they've seen that this business model is solid, that this model works. As a result, they take advantage of their strengths in production, mainly costs, and in fact, they enter a market that they know has already been validated for this type of product. Now, the point isn't that there are also these types of manufacturers. The point isn't about you who then resell it to the end user. The fact that it's from China isn't the issue here. The point is quality, okay? Because you discover the quality not when the pallet or shipment arrives, not when the product maybe looks good, so it's nice to look at, or not. When the supplier gives you a good price, but you find out when something goes wrong, because that's when you see the difference. But why? Because as long as everything works, everyone looks good. You know that too. How does it work on the eastern side? Everyone has nice brochures anyway. They have a beautiful catalog to show you. They also have nice explanatory videos about the product, promotional videos. Everyone promises you quality anyway. But when the end customer calls because there's a problem with the water regulator, when your technician has to go out, when the restaurant owner is angry, to put it mildly, and when you have to give an answer to the customer, that's when you really find out what kind of product you've bought, what kind of supplier you have, and above all, what kind of company is behind this type of product. Today I want to talk to you, in fact, about a choice that we at Onnwater also made many years ago. A choice that led us down a difficult path because it cost us a lot of effort, more investment, more responsibility, but it's a choice we would make 1,000 times over. In fact, we chose and decided to design and manufacture here in Italy. And not just to put a little flag on the brochure like people usually do, right? But because we believe that for a reseller, a distributor like you, in other words, for companies like yours that deal directly with the end user, it makes a huge difference. In fact, it makes all the difference in the world to be able to offer genuine made in Italy products. In fact, one of the situations that bothers me the most is when, for example, you go to install a water purifier, you install it, and the customer right then and there, of course, they're happy because it's something new. Everything seems to be going perfectly. Then 2 weeks, a month, some time goes by, and your phone starts ringing. And so it starts with the product not working, because this happens when the basic quality is low. Now, I know it might seem obvious, but many times we Europeans, we kind of look at what's happening. In the automotive sector, a lot of companies from China are coming in, okay? At first, they even seem well made. I mean, the design is even nice, if you think about it, right? But you know better than I do that this sector, the water treatment sector, is made up of two sides. It's made up of the product side for a large part, or rather for half, and the other half is made up of the service side, okay? Now, on the service side, actually, the service, what does it consist of? The service is the sum of a product, a water dispenser that works, and a technical service that works, okay? So, it's extremely important to take this into account as well, even though it might seem obvious, okay? Because Eastern companies are getting better and better at copying the design, but the problem is they're missing everything else. And if they're missing everything else, you'll be missing everything else too, if you offer this type of product, okay? Instead, consider an Italian company, a truly made in Italy company, which not only provides the product, but also the entire ecosystem behind it to support you. A service to provide you with answers, to provide you with technical components when you need them. In fact, that's why here at Onnwater, we've always believed that our customer, so our distributor, doesn't just need a simple water purifier, but something more. They need commercial arguments they can use with customers. They need differentiation in a sense to stand out from the crowd. They need innovation. They need to be able to approach the end customer and tell them something that others can't. Not only can't tell, but can't even demonstrate or show. Also, because this is a very important topic, since you need to know that competition, or rather competition itself, is not really the main problem. The real problem sometimes, actually most of the time in markets, is obsolescence, because it's not the competitors as you see them today, since you already know those. You know who they are, you know where they are, you know them better than yourself, you know how they work. What you should be concerned about is the competitor who will arrive tomorrow. You need to be ready for tomorrow, for someone who might bring something new to the market, something you could have brought yourself. Something, in fact, that you might not have. Something that will make your offer seem, in quotes, old. Because the water market, I don't know if you've noticed, changes at the speed of light. Customers themselves change. The demands change, the end market evolves, and as a result, technologies change to meet new needs. So if you keep offering water purifiers maybe for decades, always the same models, sooner or later the market will make you pay for it. And I know it's convenient to do so, because when you have a system that works, it's hard to want to change it, since you'd be stepping into the unknown. You think, damn, if this thing doesn't work, then we're in trouble. And that's understandable. But at the same time, you need to find the courage to update yourself. Here in our company, we use a saying, a phrase that goes either you cut your dreams in half or you double your courage. Because what do we as manufacturers have to do? As manufacturers, we have to try to stay ahead in the market so we can offer companies like yours, which resell these products, something that's ahead of the curve. And sometimes certain things are just too far ahead. So for every new product you see coming out of a factory, there are countless hours of courage behind it that you can't even imagine, in addition to the investments. But it's really a matter of courage. But this very courage is what keeps you moving forward. It's what gives you an edge over others. Those who didn't have the courage themselves, but just wait for someone else to have it so they can copy and feel safer. So it's important that you choose a manufacturer who has that courage, and you need to be someone, you and your team, who in a way have a calculated courage, let's call it that. So, having said all this, is China actually worth it or not? You, as a distributor who deals directly with end users, is it worth it or not to buy water purifiers from China? The answer is it depends, because obviously the advantages of China, the only real advantage is of course the price. But also remember this, in the market, and this applies to any market, to win on price, you have to be the absolute cheapest. Let me explain. There is absolutely no reason to be the second cheapest. There is no advantage at all in being the second cheapest. Think about a very basic raw material, like say salt, right? Think about salt, okay? If you go to the supermarket and buy salt and you see one salt that costs 10 euros per kilo and another that costs 9 euros per kilo, okay? There's no difference between the two. You'll still buy the one that costs 9, right? Why? Because it has, with equal products, if we say they're equal, and if not, you'll understand the concept. The point is that there's no advantage in being the second cheapest. Either you're the cheapest or you're the most premium. This is to say that China can't guarantee you to really take advantage of all the Chinese suppliers. You would have to be the only one in Italy with a certain model, so have absolute exclusivity, and you would have to make sure you have the most advantageous economic conditions of all, which is not the case, okay? Because the Chinese, in a certain sense, have their own strategy and don't care about anyone else. It's not an insult, it's total respect, because they really know how to do business well, but they don't care about anyone else because that's how business works. So, in a world where everything is becoming mass-produced, in a world where everything always follows the same trend, the winner is the one who personalizes, okay? The winner. The one who chooses a product or service that, in a certain sense, first and foremost, reflects what your market demands. That's the first thing. Second, the one that reflects your brand, okay? That's why one of the ways to gain commercial and competitive advantages in the water treatment sector is definitely to move towards an area, towards a direction where the customization of the water dispenser prevails. Ideally, if you have something you've designed yourself, not entirely, but maybe even just in some details, obviously, that helps you. Okay, and that's the first thing. Why the product? We're talking about physical products, so the product is the first thing people see. Okay, so this definitely helps you. So China, yes, China, no, it depends on where you want to go, okay? It depends on whether you want to be known as someone special, who has a special brand, a unique brand, one that is built day by day and then remains engraved in your customers' minds. And so it stimulates word of mouth and so on, or if you're more focused on the numbers, so producing quantity, obviously at the expense of everything else that could matter. Then there's technical support, or rather the lack of technical support. And so also the quality. So you see, there's no right or wrong. In business, there's only one rule. Does it work or does it not work? There's no right or wrong. So if you're unsure, try both. If you're not unsure and you have a clear idea and you want to do something big in the water treatment sector, go with a manufacturer who can customize your water dispenser for you. This video comes to an end. If you're interested in these kinds of topics, I invite you to subscribe to the Onnwater YouTube channel. Click the button below and also click the bell button so you'll get a notification every time a new video comes out. See you in the next one.